Who's the GOAT?
Michael Jeffrey Jordan, easily.
Beautiful.
Then I got Kobe Bryant, number two, easily. And LeBron, if you want to put LeBron any place after that, whatever. Believe it or not, I don't have LeBron James in my top five.
Welcome into another great week, another great conversation here on Cousins Conversations. I have Montezz Allen from the Crossover Podcast. Best time of the year, Montez. We're talking NBA playoffs.
Yeah, man. First of all, thank you for having me on and reaching out to me. I really appreciate the opportunity. So, just want to be grateful, send a shout out to you for that. And yeah, man, I'm back in Michigan. I know when we first were communicating, I was living in Macon, Georgia, and I was a sports director over at 41 NBC. That was now it's crazy. That was a little while ago. Time flies, but now I'm back in Michigan, and some opportunities have opened up. So yeah, I'm doing a podcast now with two-time champ Lindsay who used to play for the Pistons, and Hall of Fame PG Tim Hardaway Sr. And it's crazy, man. You think you know the game until you're around a Hall of Famer and a two-time champ, And so, I learn from them. They kind of kill me sometimes when they think I say something crazy, but it's definitely a blessing, and I really appreciate it for sure.
On the road this week that I'm in Tampa. I will have some great content for everybody out there. Just want to throw that out coming later in the week, but we are locked in with Montez here. You mentioned the NBA players that you're doing this with. How did you get connected with them?
So when I first moved to Michigan in May of, what was it, 2024, I initially came here to do a radio show full time with Lindsay Hunter, right? I never met him or nothing like that, but I met him through my mentor, Rob Parker, who, used to work, like on Fox and stuff like that. And I think he's still in LA working on Fox Sports Radio. So, he introduced me to Lindsay through like Zoom and stuff, and we were discussing what was going to happen. And then I ended up moving to Michigan, and we had our show. Unfortunately, like the company didn't last, but me and Lindsay kind of became like good friends. You know what I mean? He's like old enough to be my dad almost. He's 55, right? So, and ever since then, we just kept in contact. We would hang out, watch playoff games, stuff like that. And he said, "Hey, man, we about to start another pod." And it took a while. It took like over 4 or 5 months for me to kind of hear back from him about that. But eventually, he was like, "Look, man, we started a pod. It's called Crossover. We want you on." So I really think that's a blessing because Lindsay knows everybody. You know what I mean? And a Hall of Famer and Tim Hardaway, they know people that they can easily put in that position, but they decided to go with me, and I think it's a blessing, and I'm grateful for it. So we were actually hanging out last night after the Pistons game and stuff like that, and they were killing. Well, Lindsay was killing me because I said I didn't think the Pistons was gonna come down back from 3-1. I know he was killing me, but yeah, man, we stayed in contact, and now we're it's doing pretty well. Like it's doing numbers, and we're hoping to continue to land sponsors and have this thing blow up in Michigan because in Detroit specifically because nothing like this has been done. So yeah, I'm glad to be a part of it, man.
I hit that subscribe button for you. I saw you're close to 900 now, which is awesome. Love to see the growth there. How have you grown this to where it is now? Obviously, you talked about the connection with Lindsay and who he knows and everything, but just how you've grown it to what it is now.
Honestly, it's just been like organic. We film every Tuesday, so we film. I don't want to date this, but we film every Tuesday, and we have been growing it by just putting out clips that we think. And shout out to Caleb Hunter, Lindsay's son, who's doing good with the social media. So we've just been putting out clips of certain topics that we've been doing. Also, the whole show on YouTube. And a lot of clips has been going viral. One clip has done over 1 million. A lot of clips is doing 600,000, 500,000, 400,000. Most recently, Lindsay was at the game, and the Detroit fans were chanting like Angel Reese because trolling her, right? and that's probably about to do over 200K. So it's
Yeah.
really been organic, and that shows that we've been getting a lot of engagement, whether I'm getting cooked for my takes or whatever, right? It's all sports takes, you know what I mean? So it's nothing really to feel some type of way about, but we've just been growing it organically, man, and hopefully this thing continues to blow up.
Talking off the rip with NBA players, take us inside that. What's that like?
They're human. That's how I look at it. Shout out to my older brother. I think because of him, I've been around a lot of celebrities in my life. So I don't look at them like a lot of people on the streets, they fan out when they see like a Tim Hardaway or Lindsay or whatever. Me, I just look at them like they're human. And they just had this an exceptional skill. Like I could hoop, but obviously I didn't make it to the NBA. But they had this skill, to a point where they got it to the NBA level, and that's really it. You know what I mean? And but Tim Hardaway is at a higher level than Lindsay because he's a Hall of Famer, and he's been in locker rooms with MJ and Reggie Miller and Penny Hardaway, and he played with Chris Mullin and stuff like that. Tim is a little interesting. He's an interesting personality, very serious but can be funny, and he definitely knows the game from the South Side of Chicago. I lived in Chicago for 7 years, went there for grad school, whatnot.
Chicagoan right here, so we love it. We love
Yeah,
it.
man. I went to DePaul, and I love Chicago, but you know, I look at them like they're human. We've had players on like Grant Long. We had Lomas Brown, who played for the Lions, won the Super Bowl. I want to say with Tampa. But I just look at them like they're human, man. I obviously don't be. I always going to be respectful because they have played at a higher level, but I'm not a fan. I always tell people this: the only people that I would probably fan out over, they're dead and gone. Like a Muhammad Ali. Like if he walked in, I'm definitely asking him for his autograph. Like so, certain people like that. But when I'm around NBA players and stuff like that, I don't really. I just look at them like they're human, honestly.
How do you try to pick their brain, make them show that knowledge that they have? How do you gauge that as somebody who leads the conversation?
Honestly, just I think it just flows naturally. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm only 38, but I've been doing this for a long time, like in terms of interviewing and talking to people, and I think it comes natural. And just whatever flows. Like before we did this, I had an interview, but I'm coming up with topics for the pod on Tuesday, and I just kind of think of things that will have them go deep in their bag in terms of their brain. Like I believe I've asked Tim Hardaway, like, what's the difference between a great player and a good player and a really great one, right? Just little things like that. I asked Lindsay what separates the Kobe's and the Mikes and the LeBrons because he played against all three. So just little things like that. I try to pick their brain about, but mostly it's about just topics and what's going on in the sports world.
Any cool stories they have that you can share?
Um, well, Lindsay talks all the time about Michael Jordan, like how great
There
he
we go.
was, how the stuff he was doing was something that you can't even imagine. That he's a walking 30 every time he steps on the court, he will kill you. And same thing with Tim Hardaway. Tim Hardaway has a lot of stories about Chris Mullin, and it's one clip that went viral. And we were talking about, I said something like Steph Curry is the greatest shooter guy ever created. And then Tim Hardaway was like, "Well, yeah, you didn't see Chris Mullin." And then I was like, "Oh, gee, so you telling me right now you think Chris Mullin is a better shooter than Tim Hardaway? I mean, than Steph Curry?" And he was like, "Yes." I'm like, "You need to be drug tested and blah 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 because no way." And then he'd just tell a story how Chris Mullin was in the gym, his workouts and whatnot. He also tells stories about Michael Jordan himself. So it's good to hear those because as people that didn't play in the league, and it's a lot of debate who's the GOAT and blah blah blah, which is not even a debate. They hearing it from the horse's mouth is very interesting to hear and to witness, and I love hearing them talk about it for sure.
Okay, you said the GOAT's no debate. Who's the GOAT?
Michael Jeffrey Jordan, easily.
Beautiful.
Then I got Kobe Bryant number 2, easily. And LeBron, if you want to put LeBron in any place after that, whatever. Believe it or not, I don't have LeBron James in my top 5. Believe it or not, I have in order, I have Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, Kareem, Shaq. And then I got LeBron at like 6 or 7 because I'm like, is he better than Tim Duncan? And Tim and Lindsay don't think LeBron's better than Larry Bird, who averaged 24 and 10 for his whole career, right? So, and I think like 5 or 6 assists. So, this whole GOAT debate is interesting, but it's just crazy hearing those type of stories and just kind of picking their brain. Even if I sound stupid to them, like I'm not scared of that. I'm just learning honestly, and it's fun.
You won't hear any argument from me about Michael Jordan being the GOAT.
Okay, cool.
No, with no debates there. 6 rings. That's all you need to say.
6 MVPs, 10 scoring titles, never went to a game 7. It's no debate. If he would have played 23 years, he would have 100,000 points. Are you kidding me?
Mhm.
So yeah, shout out to MJ.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron is the only reason why he's getting in the records he is because of longevity for him. But like you said, if MJ is playing that long, those records never broken.
No, MJ did more in a less amount of time, where it took LeBron James an extra 8 years to do all this. And look, I will say, look, this is a lot of people are shocked at how LeBron is playing at 41, but I'm not, because greatness. One thing, even though I don't think he the GOAT or the number 2 GOAT, greatness lasts a long time. I'm the president of the Kobe Bryant fan club. Before Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles, he was getting better, right? He was getting better, and then he tore his Achilles. And when you tear your Achilles, that's the worst injury in sports. You know what I mean? So, but that's, I don't want to go too much on the debate, but it's just good talking to them about that and hearing their perspective for sure. Because a lot of NBA players, I would say at least 97% of them has Michael Jordan as the greatest of all time. It might be 98. It damn near might be 99. So, if they played against them and they're saying that, fans tend to fan out. And like if an NBA player who played against all 3 is telling you that Mike and Kobe are better than Bron, who are we to say that LeBron is better? And they literally played against them and literally saw him. So I don't know. I think that's weird energy.
There we go. What's your favorite Kobe Bryant quote?
Oh, I don't know if I have a quote. I don't know verbatim. I think when he was talking about being lazy, right? Because we all know and love Kobe Bryant for not only his play on the court, but how he got it from the mud and worked. Because when Kobe Bryant came out of high school, he wasn't getting a lot of playing time like that, and it was a different era for sure, right? Versus when LeBron came in, it was a different era. But he wasn't getting a lot of playing time like that. But he was like, look, I'm about to be better than Michael Jordan. And guess what? He's the closest by working his butt off and having that work ethic that everybody talk about, the Mamba mentality. He touched the hem of Michael Jordan's garment. He's the closest person to ever get to Mike's level. And I might get beat up for this, but if Kobe would have got 6 rings, I don't know I might have said he was better than Mike, because he did everything Mike can do. Like, and he might have did it a little better, except for winning the rings, defensive player of the year. He did win 10 scoring titles and stuff like that. But that's me being a Kobe guy. And I think if I would have said that, if he would have won 6 rings, I don't think that would have been far-fetched. Like, because Kobe was just unstoppable. He looked like Mike. So but I would say, I don't know a quote verbatim, but definitely when he talks about his hard work, getting it from the mud, and he said something like, man, if you don't want to work hard, I don't have nothing in common with lazy people. So that kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, nobody can test Kobe's work ethic. He had awesome work ethic, better than a lot of other guys, like you were saying. But let's get into this NBA playoffs, though, because I know you're a big Pistons fan. You're in Detroit. Did you think that the Pistons would come back from 3-1?
Hell no. And on the show on Tuesday, they gonna murder me, because I didn't, man. Look, let me tell you something. You don't want to be. I picked the Pistons in 6. Let's get that out the way. So I didn't pick Orlando to win the series. But how we looked when we went down 3-1, we looked awful. And then to this day, even though he had a better game last game, it's still an APB out for Jalen Duren. To go from averaging 19.5 points, 10.5 boards to 10 and 9, and you were an all-star and you're getting outplayed by Wendell Carter Jr., to me, that doesn't sit well with me because we need you, big fella. You know what I mean? And when we are going into the next round now, albeit Franz Wagner sat out the last couple games, right? He was destroying us. And but we got the dub. That's all that mattered. But we cannot go into the next series when we play Cleveland with James Harden and Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley and Jared Allen and those boys. You do not want to go down 3-1 to them boys, because they can play. So shout out to the Pistons, man. They play with a lot of grit, tenacity, and heart. I'm never worried about Cade. I was more so worried about the others. And do I think the Pistons gonna win a championship? No. Even though I'm from here, born and raised here, I'm not biased. Like in terms, I'm gonna keep it objective. I did pick us to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but our biggest flaw, I think, is we don't have a second star that can put the ball in a bucket, that can take the pressure off Cade. Now, some will say like Tobias Harris has been doing that. He just dropped 30 in the Game 7 win here in Detroit. But I think when we start playing harder teams like the Knicks, like the Cavs, or even if we make it to the finals, if you look at every other team, they have multiple guys that can put the ball in the bucket. Thankfully, though, Detroit can defend. But for those 3 games that we lost, it seems like we just got amnesia and forgot how to play D, right? So shout out to them, man. Like whenever I'm wrong, I give credit when it's due. I did not think we was gonna come back from 3-1, but we played with a heart, a lot of grit. That definitely, the city is electric. And now let's see if we can and learn that lesson and take that momentum into the semis, playing against the Cavs, who you can't play with James Harden, you can't play with Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. You can't play with those boys at all. I'm still picking the Pistons in 6 or 7. But the real matchup, even though you can't overlook the Cavs, are the Knicks. So the Knicks are looking really good. So we'll see. Boston's out. I thought Boston. I was really worried about Boston. But you can't really overlook Philly either. You know, a healthy Joe Embiid, all bets are off.
That Game 7, yeah, he was going off.
All bets are off with a healthy Joe Embiid, a healthy Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Kelly Oubre. Like those boys can play over there in Philly. And I think Philly actually matches up very well with the Knicks. So we'll see what happens. But no, I did not think that the Pistons were going to come back from 3-1. I just didn't. It has nothing to do with hate. It has nothing to do with nothing. When I'm looking at the games, I'm like, man, we don't look good at all. But they turned it on. They turned it up defensively. And now we're here.
Have to put a little rock chalk out there for Kelly Oubre and Joel Embiid as well. They're great 1 year at Kansas, but hey,
Yeah.
Once a Jayhawk, always a Jayhawk, as we say. With Game 6 of that series, though, Magic and Pistons, that was like the wildest game I think I've ever watched, where one team just goes super cold, 24 straight missed field goals, 36-4 run for the Pistons. What were your thoughts on that game and just how that all unraveled for the Magic?
So I'm in a group text with Tim and them, and when we were watching it, I thought we were cooked. I thought we were done. I'm like, the Pistons are cooked. Tim said it, Lindsay said it, right? And then they turned it on. Like you said, 23, 24 straight missed shots. We turned it on defensively. Cade looked like the superstar that he is. And that's why the Orlando Magic coach just got fired. You know, you can't blow a 24 point lead and then lose in Game 7. You know, that's tough. So I thought the Pistons were cooked in that game. But again, we showed a lot of heart. We showed a lot of growth, tenacity. But I'm still going to call out Jalen Duren. We need you to play like an all-star, big fella. It's an APB out for him, because for you to be an all-star and then play like not like an all-star, for lack of a better word, that's no excuses, bro. We need you to step up. Cade needs as much help as he can get. And if everybody plays well, especially on the defensive end, anything can happen except for winning the championship. Nobody's beating OKC or the Spurs, I don't think. So
that's what I was going to ask you. In the West, what are you looking at? Because it looks like it's just a crash course for those two to meet in the Western Conference Finals, the Spurs and the Thunder.
Yeah, I've been saying it all year. I think SGA is going to win MVP again. I think he's going to win back-to-back MVPs. I know the Spurs had the Thunder's number in the regular season, but to me, playoffs is what matters. It always reminds me of Josh Allen, who's like in a regular season, like 5-0. It was something like that. He was like 5-0 against Pat Mahomes, something like that in the regular season, and then 0-5 in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of the same thing. I want to see the Spurs do it in the playoffs. Like when when the lights are the brightest, I want to see the Spurs do it in the playoffs. Period. So I know they have their number, but I believe in SJ. I will say this: OKC, if they don't have J Dub, it's going to be tough, right? He needs to come back. There's been a lot of injuries with that hamstring, Luca, and a lot of injuries to players in the playoffs that Kevin Durant didn't play, sat out. Franz Wagner, Luca, Austin Reeves, Ant Man, DiVincenzo tore his Achilles. There's been a lot of players getting injured. But if Ant Man comes back, don't sleep on what the Minnesota Timberwolves can do because Ant Man is a dog, right? Don't sleep on what the Minnesota Timberwolves can do because they can very well knock out the Spurs if Ant Man is healthy. So but I'm just gonna maintain it. I've been saying it all year. I think SGA is gonna win back-to-back MVPs. I think he's gonna win another ring, and we're gonna start having some interesting conversations if he does that.
Is this a dynasty, the Oklahoma City Thunder? If they win one more, two more?
I would like to say a dynasty is 3 in a row.
Okay.
But then again, the Spurs never won 3 in a row, and they're definitely a dynasty. So you know what? I would say if OKC wins back to back, they have it's probably on the borderline of being a dynasty for sure. And they're young. And here's the thing: I think they have a shot at landing a lottery pick or something like that in a draft because
Yeah.
of the Clippers. So that'd be crazy if they get a high draft pick to add to that roster. They're doing a hell of a job. And it's just crazy to think that they didn't even win a ring with KD, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Kendrick Perkins, Tyler Cephalosha, Serge Ibaka. And that's wild. But that just goes to show you it's a different era in the league because I don't think this OKC team can beat LeBron James, D Wade, Chris Bosh. I don't think this team could beat that team, but it's just different eras, right? It's just a different era.
What were the Clippers thinking trading SGA?
Well, here's the thing: SJ was cold, but he wasn't the SJ that we see now, and that's probably why they traded him. They didn't realize that, probably, right? Because I think you're getting Paul George. So Paul George can ball, but we see now that SGA, didn't turn into a monster. He got this whole Kobe type vibe going, real calm and like killer look, So, I'd be shocked if they didn't make it to the finals. I'd be shocked if the Spurs um beat them. And we know they're gonna sweep the Lakers. So Lakers might get one game. I'd be shocked if the Lakers win two. I wish the Lakers had Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic just healthy for. I know Austin Reeves is back, but I wish they had Luka as well. Um, but injuries happens in the league. Nothing we can do about it, and that's just a part of the game.
Okay, so you have the Thunder in the West. Who's your pick in the East to go to the finals?
Obviously, I would like to say Detroit. Obviously, I do not like how we got off to this start in the playoffs, going down to 3-1. We cannot do that again. How we looked, especially as you go through the different rounds, different levels. You can't do that against Cleveland, man. Cleveland to me is better than Orlando. But I'm just going to be a homer and say Detroit. Do I think we can beat the Knicks? That's going to be tough, but I'm always objective, but I'm always going to call it like I see it. But until I see it, I'm going to pick the Pistons to make it out the East. But if I'm watching a game, if we're playing terrible in Cleveland, if we're playing terrible against OKC, I'm literally going to call it how I see it and say, man, look, dog, I don't think we can do it. But then again, I didn't think we was going to come back from 3-1, and I'm getting murdered on Tuesday. So,
how many games that series going with the Thunder?
if it was the Pistons versus Thunder,
Yep.
I don't think the Pistons can beat the Thunder in a 7 game series, man. Um, I'd probably say Thunder in 6, man. I,
There we go.
I know I love Detroit. I'm from here, born and raised. Anything can happen in the playoffs, right? I didn't think like back in '04 when the Pistons beat the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq. I was in high school. I remember watching it. I didn't think that was going to happen either. So anything can happen because these guys are competitors and they all play at a high level. And nobody's scared. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, but I would pick OKC in 6.
You heard it here first. OKC in 6 over the Pistons. Where did your love for basketball start?
Um, I would say shout out to my older brother. Like I started playing basketball at a young age, probably by like 6 years old, but maybe before that. And I got really good at it. I used to go to Tyndall Recreational Center here in Detroit, Northwest Activity Center, and every team I played on, I started. I played basketball all throughout my life except for college, and that was by choice, which is probably my only regret in life is not playing in college. Looking back now at 38, but everything happens for a reason. But I love the game. I can watch it all day, every day, talk about it all day, every day, and just very passionate about it, man. I could really care less about any sport except for basketball. Obviously, working as a sports anchor back in the day and stuff, I had to cover golf and baseball and football and stuff like that. But I can talk about basketball all day, watch it all day, cover it all day, and so yeah, man, that's definitely my first love for sure.
Let's go back to those sports anchor days. We both been in local news doing the sports grind. What do you take away from that experience that you had in Macon?
Well, it was an interesting experience because it took a lot of patience and not the willingness not to give up to get that first job because I had graduated from DePaul grad school program in 2014. I didn't get my first full time sports anchor role until 2019. So I was in Chicago that whole time and I'm grinding. I'm working part time jobs at like radio stations. Shout out to WBBM. Just doing everything. And I'm like, I'm seeing everybody before me getting jobs. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I'm working my ass off. But I remember it finally opened up and it was cool. It was definitely a grind and very tiresome though. Like, covering that was the only sports place I knew that I didn't have to cover sports. I was off on the weekends. I'm like, whoa.
That wow.
Yeah. So Monday through Friday, I'm working. I was off Saturday and Sunday. Unless I was like wanted to stay in Macon and it was a tournament going on off the clock, I would just go cover it, for the game for Monday. But it got really tired. One thing I learned too is I don't care how tired you are, when that red dot come on, you better be ready to go. Like you can't some jobs I've had, like working as an assistant producer, something like that. If I get tired, I can just kind of relax, but not with that job. Like you always have to be on. But I did learn. I feel like a lot of skills in terms of live shots and um, just little things, being able to write better. Um, this was right during COVID too, and I became more creative because a lot of the other stations there in Macon, a lot of the sports anchors, man, had to do news. And I asked God for creativity and I started doing something called like these shout outs because a lot of people were getting offers from different schools. So I'm shouting out different players and, just shining some light on them. And that got big. So I would get emails from different players like, can you put me on? Can you give me a shout out? I was like, I will, only if you're not a scrub though. I ain't gonna put no scrub on, but it was definitely an interesting experience. I don't regret it or nothing like that. And I'm thankful for that opportunity as well. I was in Macon for 5 years. That's like my third home. And I was trying to get to Atlanta and try to work for the NBA TV or something like that, but Atlanta never opened up. But it was definitely an interesting experience, and I could look back on my life and be like, "Dang, I was a sports anchor before." You know what I mean? I don't think nobody from my hood has ever done that. So it was definitely an interesting experience for sure.
I always loved your creativity. You would post your highlights and be like water, bottoms, all that stuff. I love that, man. That was awesome. That
Thank
al- that always that always gave me a good like laugh, and I was locked in. So
thank you, man. It's I mean, being a northerner going down south, I just try to bring my lingo. One thing I would tell people, or just I could speak for myself, is I just didn't like to be like everybody else. I wanted to bring my own swag to it.
mhm,
And what I would do is I would study previous anchors that were killing it. You know what I mean? Or I would study like how Stephen A. Smith or Michael Wilbon or Rob Parker or Stuart Scott, right? RIP to
mhm.
Stuart Scott, how
Cool on the
he
other side of the pillow. Yeah,
cool, little things like that.
yeah.
I would just study. And I remember I was so nervous because before then I had never been live. So I was taking jobs where things were pre-recorded. I was so dreading, like I was dreading live shots. But I learned that, man, you can't fear stuff like that. Like the more you do it, the better you get. And I realized like I know how to talk anyway. Like all you're doing in a live shot is just talking. Do your research and just talk about what you know. So little things like that I learned. But being a sports anchor is definitely a grind. I would say this though, I think the business is changing because we're starting to get in the next 5 to 10 years, or even now, I don't know how many people are going to tune into local news and just watch highlights and stuff like that. I think it's going to start evolving to like podcasting, like what people doing now, like podcasting, sharing their opinions, doing it in that way to where it's just not so stiff and hey, my name is Montezz Allen, blah blah blah. Like, no, man. Like I didn't talk like that, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying it's wrong to talk like that, but I think it's shifting and swaying away from that type of local news. I think it's going to change like in the next 3 to 10 years, something like that.
I agree. I'm glad we're doing our podcast, so we're definitely ahead of the game as far as that goes. You talked about that 5 year stretch where you're just trying to find jobs, stay active. What did you do in that 5 years? What kept you going during that stretch?
I did a lot. I had got a job at WBBM News Radio as an assistant producer. It was very interesting to see. I made a lot of contacts there. That it was very interesting to see because Chicago was the third largest market. I don't know if they still are.
Yep.
At the time, they're the third largest market, and just to see the sports anchors, just to see the news anchors. I mean, it was ran like a well-oiled machine. Definitely got a lot of experience there, but that was part time. I would drive Uber. I had a retail job. I got laid off from jobs. I worked at 120 Sports, my first job out of grad school. Worked there for about a year and a half. Got laid off. It was a journey for sure, but I had kept my eyes on the prize, and I eventually got it. If I would have given up, I would have never got that. So you just can't give up. If it's something that you really want, you can't give up, even if you got to work jobs that you hate. Because I've done that plenty of times where I'm just like, I hate being here, right? And I got my eyes on what I want to do, but I got to pay some bills to do this, and do this. Um, so it's just, I think it's just your mindset, and you just can't crack, man. And it took me 5 years. I'm talking, I'm hitting up news directors, emailing for 5 years straight, and then I finally got that big breakthrough. And it's funny when I got it, I was like, this is not what I thought. I was like, but it was cool, like especially football down south. Never seen nothing like that. It was like a religion. It was like people are tailgating for high school football games, getting drunk. I'm like, this
Yep.
is wild. That was fun though. Like covering, going to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, seeing Georgia, stuff like that. That junk was fun. I think while I was there, Warner Robins, who won a state? Was it Warner Robins lost in a state title game. The next year they won. It was another team. I can't remember. I think they went undefeated all year. But I did see it making a team out of Middle Georgia win a state championship. It was cool. That part was cool for sure. But it was just more so staying in the game and never giving up on what you really want to do. And when that door finally opened up, I tried my best to kill it.
I will say the Macon Bacon is one of the best sports teams names ever.
So it was a quick story about the Macon Bacon. I had no clue what that was. They had also had a hockey team called Macon Mayhem. I'm like, but I remember. I think shout out to my old news director. His name was Brandon Long. He said, "Yeah, while you're here, you're gonna go to a Macon Bacon game." I said, "Excuse me, Macon Bacon? That's the most countryest, southernest thing ever. Macon Bacon." And you know what? I had a lot of fun at their games. I also got real cool, one of the information guys or something like that. And yeah, man, shout out to Macon. Like I know Macon's a small city, but you know what? Those 5 years there, I did a lot, learned a lot, lost a lot. But looking back, even though I haven't been back since I left in 2024, those 5 years, man, I enjoyed. I did. It was cool. And then it wasn't too far from Atlanta, so I'll go to Atlanta all the time and party and whatever. But I have nothing but a lot of love for Macon. If I ever get to go back, I'm definitely because I'm supposed to go to NABJ in Atlanta in August. So if I'm able to get a car, like, or I might drive my car, but if I'm able to get out there to Macon, I'm definitely gonna go and see if I can see people. You know what I mean?
You love a place when you're willing to do that.
Yeah.
Go to the small town that you enjoy living in and all that too. That's how I feel about my first place, where I work in Fargo, North Dakota, of all places. Like I'd love to go back there and see everybody. So it's always great for that first job. You get that connection with people. The people love you and everything. What would Montezz now tell that Montezz and the Montezz who was grinding for 5 years?
Oh, that's a good question. Because I'm still grinding, man. This
Yeah.
business, a lot of people look at Stephen A. Smith making 100 million, but Stephen A. Smith is damn near 60. You know what I mean? It takes a while. Um, I would say, man, just continue to grind and never give up, which I'm doing now. And I'm 38 now, but just anything you want is going to be hard to get. And a lot of people give up a lot of times right before they break through. And it's easy to give up. I understand when you're getting laid off or got to work part-time here, barely get making enough money to cover your rent, your car, this and that, and you just getting tired. Like,
Mhm.
man, I need to make some real money. I want to live life, you know what I mean? And you just gotta not give up, bro. Like that's the thing. I think that's anything. Like you really want it, no matter how many times those voices in your head be like, I give up, bro. Like it's not gonna happen. Like give up. You're working this job that you hate, you're gonna be stuck here. Everybody had those thoughts, and I still have those thoughts now, but I think it's mental toughness, and that just goes back to me to the Mamba mentality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't quit. And shout out to Steve Harvey. He said when you quit, that guarantees the failure. Right? When you quit, it guarantees that you fail. But if you keep going, it's a chance that it might happen. Um, so yeah, man. I'm still in the grind now. But I see, I got my eyes on a prize, and I want to accomplish it, make my family proud, and so I would say just keep going, no matter if you're going through hard times, financial issues, as long as you're healthy, alive, you got some family that can support you, you can keep going, bro. And that's what I'm trying my best to do, even though it gets hard to this day.
I love that. Now, tell me to close this thing out where people can watch the Crossover podcast and where they can follow you on socials.
You can follow me on IG. It's Tezz Talks Sports. You can also follow Crossover Podcast. It's called TCO Podcast on Instagram. It's TCO Podcast on YouTube. It's TCO Podcast on TikTok. And yeah, man, like we're coming. It's nothing like this being done in Detroit. It's a whole bunch of fun. I can't wait to get murdered on Tuesday for talking all that junk about the Detroit Pistons, but it's fun. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, man, just follow me. Same thing on YouTube. I think I'm Tez Talks on YouTube, Tez Talks Sports one of them. And yeah, and on Facebook is Montezz Allen. Just get my regular. But just make sure you follow us, check us out. You will love the content. We put out a clip today about Ric Flair when he was talking about how he slept with over more women than Wilt Chamberlain. And it was hilarious. And the famous Wilt Chamberlain 10,000. And Ric Flair said he slept with 20,000. And let me see, I'm gonna check real quick and see what we're doing numbers wise, but I'm pretty sure we almost at 1,000 with this one. We just posted 772 views and stuff like that. It just be fun. But yeah, definitely check us out. TCO podcast, crossover podcast. Me, Tim Hardaway Sr., Lindsay Hunter, and Lindsay's son, Caleb Hunter, who's hilarious. He's doing this thing with streaming. And make sure you follow me, Tez Talk Sports on IG.
Check out Montez's socials. Check out the Crossover Podcast. If you enjoyed this interview as well, I'll have to plug it. Hit that subscribe button below. Weekly episodes. Maybe we have Montez talking more basketball sometime down the road as well. For sure. NBA playoffs are here. You heard his prediction.
Yeah, they're going to kill me.
Over the Pistons.
Yeah, I know.
Watch and see on his episode. See how bad he gets.
Yeah, they're going to murder
for that. But Montez, I appreciate you, man, hanging out with me here on Cousins Conversations.
Hey, Nick, man, no problem, man. And look, I just want to say I'm proud of you. I know we've been kind of in contact for a long time since I lived in Georgia. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud of you. Keep going no matter what you're going through right now. Do not give up, brother, because we're going to see each other at the top. If you got to work jobs to pay your bills, if you got to do whatever you got to do it. You're not going to be there forever. Keep your eye on the prize. And God is definitely going to open up that door, and it's going to be the perfect door for you, my brother.
I appreciate the love, and Thunder in 6.
All right. Peace and blessings, y'all.